right now we turn our attention to high school football and scheduled to play, of course, starting the second week of October. And that includes the East Jefferson Warriors, who will embark on another season under a gentleman that joins us now, 5 years now, as a head coach of the Warriors. It's great to visit with Coach Frank Allelo. Frank, good to have you with us. How are you?
Hey, Mr. Strahan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fine, thank you. It's good to hear from you. And obviously these are strange times, so starting there, and I ask all the coaches this, how strange has it been to try to get this done the way you're trying to get it done without a full team being able to get together?
Well, everybody's in the same boat, luckily, but you catch yourself trying to, when you get them out there, you catch yourself kind of trying to fall back in quote-unquote normal times. And, you know, my job right now seemingly is just being the police, making sure one group stays away from another group, making sure they have masks when they need to have masks. The water supplies are, I've become like this non-football administrator almost. It's making me nuts personally. But like I told the kids today, if you want to have a season, it doesn't matter if you understand it or like it, but you're not going to sabotage yourself. We're going to follow the protocols. We're going to do everything they tell us to do. And we're going to play a season, God willing.
Tell them to do, what to do, I should say, when they leave you every day. And yet, how much do you sweat about the fact that maybe they won't do what you tell them to do?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the point. You're trying to get them to, again, when I said it doesn't matter if you like it or understand it, like we try to instill in them, like you got to understand, like try to stay away from people that you just don't know. Like, try to protect yourself from this unknown, invisible thing. But I just noticed, we follow the protocols from the moment they hit the gate. They get their temperature checked, and, individual groups entering the building at, different times. And then when they leave, they're still, like, on the street. They're walking home together. They're carpooling together. And it's almost like, what am I supposed to do? Like, unless I bring them each home individually, you just keep your fingers crossed.
Visiting with Coach Frank Allelo of the East Jefferson Warriors, and looking back at last season, this was the team that was on the rise. It was the team that got better, clearly.
Yes, sir.
As the
5-2 in
progressed.
district, the 0-3 in non-district, and I can only blame the guy who made the schedule on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, lose the first three and then win 5 of 7, including winning the last 2 to close the season to carry over some momentum. So clearly in District 8-5A, it's been all about John Ehret. Chalmette's a pretty good team, to be certain. And
absolutely,
Bonneville was improved last year. Got to believe West Jefferson's going to bounce back too.
You got to believe that. They just haven't had a lot of stability the last few years, and the last 2 seasons against Bonneville, the EJ Bonneville rivalry. When I first got here 10 years ago, I was like, it's just another game, and then I referenced it in the past to the alumni and to Kenner and Metairie. It's Army-Navy. That week, everybody's beat Bonneville, and I'm sure on their side they're saying beat EJ, and that game has been a 1-point game. Fortunately, that we've come out both times. And I think the score was identical, like 41-40, 2 years running. So, Brett's doing a great job over there. We're coaching the same kids. It's just, we just got fortunate. Last year, they scored last and was going to go for 2, actually had the play if it had continued on, but the kid jumped off sides, and then they were forced an extra point to go for the tie instead of the win, and the kid missed it. So, we dodged the bullet there, but Brett's doing a great job. I know the teams on the West Bank are all getting better. Higgins is looking to improve, and Eric's Eric. Eric's always the mountain that you got to try to put yourself in a position. And Chalmette, Chalmette's been a team that, for whatever reason, we can play maybe good for 2 quarters, but we can't beat them for 4 quarters, and that's really what matters. So, Tucker does a tremendous job over there with those kids.
Last year, you scored 20 or more points in 8 games, so the offense clearly is getting better, adapting to what you want to do. Talk about your offense and some of the key guys that you'll be counting on this year.
The exciting part about our offense and us going from out the option world into this spread, air raid, whatever we're calling it, or whatever the buzzwords are today is, we return our 2 top receivers out of the 4 and my 2 next kids. So my 2 returning kids are Jermaine Gillard, who's going to be a 3-year starter for us at slot, and Brian Shaw will be starting for his 2nd year in a row. And those guys, caught a lot of balls for us last year. My quarterbacks are back. I actually, for the first time, really have a quarterback battle with Arthur Oliver returning. Last year, he was quarterback the first 4 weeks and then had an injury. We had to kind of start plugging people in and that, and obviously it wasn't a bad plug-in when you had Isaiah Lee to plug in at quarterback. But we have another kid, Kevin Johnson, that is really pushing it to be the starter, and competition and having big, deep numbers at positions hasn't really been, the East Jefferson thing. It's like you hope to have one and keep him healthy, and I'm excited about, and I have 2 senior running backs, Isaac Cummings and Stevenson. I'm forgetting his first name. He's going to kill me tomorrow, but I'm excited about them. Our issue on offense is we graduated 4 3-year players on the offensive line, so we have 1 returning, and the rest of them are going to be sophomores, but we're going to have to play the game. So those 3-year starters were 1 sophomores having to play 2. So that's my concern at night when it comes to football is, are those young guys going to be ready to play, a 6, 7, 8, whatever game season and hold up.
No doubt. And then, of course, on the defensive side of the ball, last year you had some good moments, a couple of shutouts, in fact, and yet
yes, sir.
there were other games where you did give up quite a few points. What do you have from a defensive perspective?
Well, defense took a bigger hit even than the offensive line. All 4 linebackers graduated, and 3 out the backfield. So Coach Gilead and his crew had their hands full, but we got some really good younger kids in there and picked up a couple guys. But I mean, defensively, probably the guy that's our guy is Ahmad Fisher. He'll be a junior this year. He would have, this will be his 3rd year playing for us at defensive end. And from basically the COVID, what would have been the end of the regular year. So May, from basically June 1st, Ahmad's put 25 pounds on. He was at 170 playing defensive end. And now he's at 195. He's shooting for over 200, and we're talking about a 6'3" kid that can run like the wind and long. And I think people are really going to get their eye on him this year. I think he's going to be spectacular for us. The rest of the guys, not to downplay any of them, it's funny. When I saw your text today, I was like, oh, Ken wants to know why I haven't turned my questionnaire in yet. And my answer to you is going to be simple. I didn't really know who was on the team until about 2 weeks ago. Because, coming in the summer is one thing, but actually showing up when we get on the field and do those things, I was like, well, is this kid coming back? Or, with this whole virtual learning, a kid's not going to be on campus, but then I got to get him to practice. I mean, we haven't even ventured into that nightmare yet. So, we're gonna put 11 of our best on defense and go at it. And exactly who all those people are. The next kid on defense, I'd be shortchanging him, is actually Jermaine Gillard's younger brother, Jalen Gillard, who led it as a freshman last year, led us in interceptions at safety, and I think the sky's the limit for him too.
With the schedule being reduced, talk about what you have on your schedule right now, set to start October 8th and 9th.
Well, what they keep telling us, it's either a 6, 7, or 8 game.
Right.
So if it's 8 games, I start with Newman. If it's 7 games, we start with Riverdale. And I guess if it's the last one, we would start with Bonneville. So, I mean, right in the middle of, our district starts in week 4. And, I mean, Walker's trying to, do his thing at Riverdale. And it's always a nice battle with them. But we've already talked about Bonneville. That's a different kind of week for everybody. And then we follow it up with King, Chalmette, Eric, Higgins, and then West Jeff. So, we don't have on paper, we don't have the toughest district in the state. I saw a poll that had us awfully, just horribly low in these numbers. But, each Friday night, the other team comes to play and comes to win. And, you better match it or be better than them or you're going to lose. So
I've been asking all the coaches about what their preference would be. If it is an 8-game schedule, in all likelihood, you'd probably lose a round of the playoffs and lose 16 teams because of the nature of the timing of it. And if it's, of course, less than that, then certainly that wouldn't be the case. So what would your preference be? Would you prefer the 8 regular season games or 6 or 7 and have a full playoff?
Well, Ken, honestly, last year we ended up tying for 33rd with funny enough, it was Santa Mont, who was our week 2 opponent and that beat us. So they ended up being 33. We ended up being 34. So even with our trials and tribulations of last year, we were knocking on the door of the playoffs, and all we'd have done is won a trip to West Monroe, which is always a lovely parting prize behind door number 2. Take a 6-hour ride and, potentially get brain damage and then 6 hours back home. But, I mean, playoffs for our kids, I mean, that's what they want. They dream about the dome, and in actuality, I just try to get them focused on each week and let's make the playoffs and then let's see what happens. So I guess on a personal level, if you're just asking me as Frank, I would like it to where there's 32 teams that make it instead of 16, but I understand that we're in a crazy situation. So if only 16 teams make the playoffs, they gave us the option of a bowl game or kind of threw us a carrot at the end. If it's 16, we'll let you play a bowl game. These kids just want to play. They want to get film. They want to try to follow their dream to college. And, I'm supporting whatever direction it goes.
Understood. That's why the PowerPoints are important. And to play those tough pre-district games, you lost them last year. But to play those people definitely helps your PowerPoints-wise. So, again, it's a double-edged sword. Choose your poison. Either lose a round of the playoffs and play more games or have the full playoffs and play less games. Either way.
Exactly. It's almost like just somebody make a decision and tell us, and then we'll figure out how to deal with it. But I just want the kids to play. It doesn't really matter about us. We're going to go to work every day and teach our 3 classes or 3 classes, but these kids work way too hard. That's why there's not 200 kids on the football team, because not everybody's made to go through what we asked them to go through, and for them not to have that under any situation is heartbreaking.
He's Frank Allelo, head football coach of the East Jefferson Warriors. Frank, listen, thanks so much for spending some time with us this evening. Keep plugging, keep working hard. We're all very hopeful that we'll see football here in October. I know I certainly hope that's the case, obviously safely, but I know you want to see it and those kids want to see it as well.
Yes, sir. It's always an honor and a privilege to talk with you for all that you do for prep sports, Ken.
Frank, thank you. Appreciate it, my friend.
All right.
That's Frank Allelo of East Jefferson High School. We'll take